Well, it's funny, Mark. I mean, not a lot of fans were obviously expecting the Hokies to be without Gerard Evans this coming season. Most expected that he would return for his senior year, but what ended up kind of becoming the rumor as the season went on is that Gerard Evans might be looking to move on a little bit more quickly than anticipated from Virginia Tech and move on to the NFL if this season kept on progressing like it had. He had obviously a very good season in his 1 year in Blacksburg, and it was enough for him to make the jump to the NFL. The one thing that's really interesting about Gerard Evans moving on as quickly as he did is that not a lot of people had him scouted because so many people were taken aback by his decision to move on to the NFL. But now I think as some of the scouts and talent evaluators have had an opportunity to look at his film, he's starting to emerge as a 4th or 5th round pick. And I think for Gerard Evans, that was good enough for him. And that's kind of a position that he thought he would be in a relatively weak quarterback draft, obviously. But the fact that he's moving on to the NFL kind of threw the Hokies through a loop. But I think the coaching staff was, really expecting that this could kind of become reality as the season continued to progress. So Hokies move on from Gerard Evans. Josh Jackson is the lone guy remaining in the quarterback room other than Jack Click, who really was a good ways down the depth chart and isn't expected to be a major factor in this quarterback competition. Josh Jackson was an ESPN 300 recruit coming out of high school. He's from Saline, Michigan. He had a very, very distinguished high school career, a guy who's picked up the offense very quickly and even pushed. Nobody really knew how serious this was, but even pushed a little bit for the starting quarterback job as a true freshman last season. So he clearly has the talent. Justin Fuente and the coaching staff, Brad Cornelson, the offensive coordinator, they're really impressed with what he brings to the table as a skill set, both as a runner and as a passer. Hokies also have brought in A.J. Bush. He's going to be a junior this year. They brought him in from the junior college ranks from Iowa Western Community College. He also played college ball in Nebraska for 1 year, even though he didn't take any snaps there. A.J. Bush is more of a running threat than a passing threat, extremely raw as a passer, but a guy that Justin Fuente was obviously impressed enough with on film and what he did as a junior college transfer coming in that he thinks that he can push for the starting quarterback job as well. And then I think the dark horse in this whole thing is Hendon Hooker. He was a 3 or 4 star recruit, depending on where you looked. At the very least, a very high-end 3-star quarterback recruit that's coming in as a true freshman, 6'5", 200 pounds. Obviously needs to put on a little bit of weight. But when you look at Hendon Hooker, his film is extremely impressive. A guy who stands in the pocket, can make all the throws, but also is a running threat as well, and had a very good high school career for him as well. So it's going to be a really interesting quarterback competition. I think if you had to pick a favorite right now and handicap it, I think Josh Jackson is probably the starter if the season began tomorrow, with A.J. Bush likely serving as the backup. And Hendon Hooker, I think the best case scenario for him is that he'll serve as a quarterback for Virginia Tech down the line. But for now, maybe redshirt, put a little muscle weight on him and hope that he can develop into a quarterback that everybody's expecting him to be. But, that's obviously if the season starts tomorrow. I think now that you have an entire offseason and all these guys are now on campus, it's going to be a great opportunity to see what they've got here in a wide open quarterback competition here in the spring and on into the summer as the Hokies try to find out who their next quarterback's going to be.
Mike, I hate to go back to what might have been, but after Gerard Evans got a couple games under his belt, to look at this offense versus what we have come to get comfortable with and what a typical Virginia Tech offense has been over the last 5 or 6 years, pretty pedestrian, maybe getting before Michael Brewer with the previous quarterback. I can't remember the kid's name, who's now in the NFL like a third-string quarterback. Yes. With quarterbacks like that, not the most dynamic passing games in Blacksburg over the past several seasons. But Gerard Evans, man, he took off, and he had the wide receiver core to really supplement his skills with Isaiah Ford, Bucky Hodges, on down the line, Cam Phillips. And we really got to see a situation there at Virginia Tech where it was getting exciting to see the Hokies play on offense, and they really started to light up some defenses down the stretch. Obviously, in the second half of the bowl game, they really took it to Clemson, and we know how talented the Tigers have been on defense. And it was really exciting to see what the Hokies had in play, knowing that the Fords and the Hodges were moving on anyway to the NFL, but that they had that guy at quarterback who could possibly contend for an ACC championship, and even did this past season kind of ahead of schedule. But that's kind of lost. And as it is often the case in college football, you got to start over.
Yeah, definitely. And, not a lot of people were expecting Gerard Evans to all of a sudden make the jump to the NFL. And I think that caught a lot of people aback. But the coaching staff didn't seem all that surprised by a decision. So I'm sure there were a lot of ongoing discussions there about his future as the season kind of went along. Hokies were definitely ahead of schedule. And this is a very quarterback-friendly offense, which I think is one encouraging thing to watch as a Hokies fan as they look to break in another new quarterback, their third quarterback in as many years at the position, is that this new offense here with Justin Fuente is unlike any offense we've seen in Blacksburg in quite some time during the Frank Beamer era. Brad Cornelson and Justin Fuente coming in together, running that quick passing offense, that quick hitting offense is very friendly to quarterbacks, very easy reads. Not a whole lot of stress is put on the quarterback position in that regard. And if the offensive line plays well and holds their blocks for just 2 or 3 seconds, that should be enough for the quarterback to get the ball out. It's a very quick-hitting offense in that regard, and I think the fact that the running game started to improve a bit as the season went on certainly helped the Hokies as well. So I think the onus needs to be on the offensive line. They're returning 3 starters on the line, but they got to replace the entire right side of the offensive line as seniors Augie Conte and tackle Jonathan McLaughlin move on due to graduation. So I think that's more of an area of concern for the Hokies heading into next season is the fact that they do have some holes on that offensive line. They got to figure out the running back position, of course, now with Marshawn Williams retiring due to his third knee injury. And they're going to have to figure some things out there. They have Trayvon McMillan still in the mix. DJ Reed, a guy who's been on campus for quite some time. Shy McKenzie transferred. So, and then Sam Rogers as well. He graduated. So the Hokies have some issues there at running back, a talented guy in Jalen Holston, who's going to come in and hopefully produce for them right away at the running back position to go along with Trayvon McMillan. But I think the onus needs to be on the offensive line and a run-first offense heading into next season as they break in a new quarterback and he gets more comfortable running the system as a first-year guy under Justin Fuente's offense.
And Mike, Justin Fuente is one of those guys who has proven as a head coach to be a developer of quarterbacks. So he's a guy that knows how to groom quarterbacks, how to develop them, and build them into guys that can lead an offense and get the passing game going.